And a good spiritual morning to you once again. I'm Father Cosmas. Thanks for joining me today for a quick chat and, of course, our morning cup coffee. And once again, thank you to everybody for getting us to 1,000 subscribers. Hope you enjoyed the last special video with our special guest, my wife, Presbytera Michelle. Please drop me a comment. Let me know if you enjoyed that video. Maybe you want to see Presbytera Michelle in future videos upcoming. But for now, as I said in the last video, I wanted to talk a little bit about our travels as we were blessed to get out of the area and go internationally and see our sons graduate from college and from graduate school. And so the first leg of the trip, we went to Chicago to see our son graduate from college there, from DePaul University. And so I wanted to reflect on that for a little bit, what it's like to sort of go back to where you used to live. So haven't been to Chicago in what, 4 or 5 years, 4 years. And we served 2 churches there. I was in Chicago for almost 20 years. That's where my wife is from originally. And so what was it like going back for the first time after being gone? And Chicago's a great city. It's a great area, wonderful people, very strong Orthodox presence, a lot of churches, a lot of Greek churches, a lot of Greeks. And so it was wonderful being back, but it got me thinking about, what it's like to sort of go back to chapters of your life, because it's kind of like, how do you revisit the past? I didn't know how I was going to feel going back there because I hadn't been there in a while. And it was a wonderful feeling. It was like this familiarity, but also there was a newness to it. Like I hadn't been in a while, so it seemed new but familiar. And when we think about chapters of our life and we reflect back, a lot of times we can sort of live in the past. And the older we get, and the less we have to look forward to, the more we sort of look backwards. And when you are constantly looking backwards, you can live a little bit too much in the past. And that's where, when you start thinking about regret and what you could have done, what you didn't do, when you live in the past, that's where sort of depression can kind of creep in a little bit. Anxiety lives in the future. What's going to happen, I don't know. Depression is kind of a little bit reflecting backwards in a negative way. When you're always sort of engaged in these conversations with, I should have done this, and why didn't I do that better? And it's this never-ending argument that you can never win. And the older we get, the more the temptation is for that. And we have to kind of be careful about that. So it was wonderful to be in the city. We stayed with family that lived, a block off of Lake Michigan. And we stayed with them for a little bit. We were there a very short amount of time. We were downtown in the city. And they, apartment or a condo that's up in the, 20, 30 stories, and beautiful view of the city. And so it was wonderful to sort of see the city. It's a beautiful city. It's on the lake. You have all these wonderful high rises. For a big city, it's relatively safe. I know that there's been lots of sort of publicity in the media recently about, oh my gosh, Chicago's become, a war zone. And it didn't feel that much different to me. It kind of felt the same. There was a little bit of a difference. There were still people sort of asking for help on the street, as they always were. But now there was sort of like women and children on the street asking for help of different ethnicities and backgrounds. And so that was a little bit different. But the city really felt pretty much the same. It's a beautiful city, relatively clean, relatively safe as far as a city of that size goes. And so it was nice to be there again and to look backwards and sort of say, I enjoyed the time that I spent there. And I think for us in the spiritual life, that's kind of what we have to do. Don't have regret. Don't focus on the negative. Don't focus on looking back into the past and saying, well, I should have done this. I wish it would have been this way. Because again, you're in that argument you can never win. And it's never ending. And it's just this loop that will repeat. Look back and sort of say, wow, this was a wonderful chapter of my life. This was a blessing. And look at all the wonderful things that happened during this time of my life. And let me focus on those things. Focus on the positive things. Because, whenever we're living our life, wherever we happen to be, and I've had several chapters to my life, there's always a positive. There's always a blessing. And if you look back, you can find the blessing and find the positive. And you can build on that. And you can learn from that. You can say, wow, I'm looking back and I'm seeing this, and this was wonderful. And I wonder if I can learn something from that. Did I learn from that? And am I making sure that I'm not making any mistakes now? Am I not repeating those mistakes 20 years later, 40 years later. I want to make sure I'm looking back and I'm reminiscing and I'm thinking about good times and blessings and what I did well and how God blessed me, and make sure that I'm trying to carry that into the present and maybe even think about it in the future and learn from it and apply those things so that we can continue to enjoy every chapter of our life, because every chapter of our life, no matter where we're living, it is a blessing. And we're trying to experience those blessings, and we're trying to do that each and every day. Amen.